All righty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, and more specifically, happy Friday. We're so excited to have you all here with us. We're just going to give it a few seconds while folks are getting settled in and joining the Zoom. In the meantime, please feel free to let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from today. I am personally located at the Offstreet HQ here in Regina, Saskatchewan, where the temperatures are actually slowly creeping towards that 0 degrees Celsius. And let me tell you, folks, it is getting cold. Before we kick things off and kind of get into the action and the real content of today, I'll start by just catching up to speed on who I am. My name is Kyle, and I am a marketing specialist here on the Offstreet team. We got a really great session lined up today, and we'll be diving into some really fun and helpful stuff here. We're going to do a fun new thing here with today's webinar, where we'll actually be doing 4 rapid fire demos for everyone to enjoy and see how you can utilize these functions of Offstreet on your campus. So that's super exciting. And of course, it is not a one-man show here at Offstreet. You'll be hearing about these use cases from a couple of our parking pros, Taylor and Spencer. Taylor, who is not only a genius at solving parking challenges, but she's also very obsessed with her golden retriever, Stormy. You may have seen her on some LinkedIn posts or her Instagram, but she'll be sharing a lot of hot tips today, as well as Spencer, the guy with a knack for turning parking headaches into a smooth, stress-free experience. No parking challenge is too big when he's on the case. So give a little virtual applause, if you will, and welcome them to today's webinar, and thank you. But let's get into our first demo here. Let's get right into the action. So as we get into the first demo here with Taylor, I'm going to set the scene. A lot of campuses tend to, host and operate with on-site campus clinics, which can come with some serious parking challenges, more specifically with dental clinics. So this requires a wide range of parkers, right? Some might not even have smartphones, large groups periodically throughout the day, and they need to be eligible to park in multiple lots, which adds to a lot of the complexity of parking. And the process of requesting, issuing, and managing those coupons can be very cumbersome for both the parking team and campus stakeholders, more specifically, those departments that are operating the clinics. So Taylor, please join me now and kind of help us understand how Offstreet can, solve this issue.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the warm introduction, Kyle. Personally, I wish Stormy could be joining me today because she's honestly a lot cooler than I am. But yeah, as Kyle said, so I'm Taylor, and I have the privilege of showcasing a couple ways universities have been using Offstreet. So the first use case I want to demonstrate is how dental clinic patients can easily register for a virtual permit using Offstreet. Now, before I do get started, I want to preface that we will only be showcasing the end user flow for the purpose of today's webinar. So if you are a current client of Offstreet and you want to learn more about these processes, please reach out to your account manager. And if you aren't a current client of Offstreet, please feel free to reach out to Spencer or myself after this webinar to learn more. But as Kyle alluded to, personally for me, when I've spoken with universities about parking for these patients, a common challenge they all mention is that after the patient parks, they must go to the front desk to grab a physical permit, return to their vehicle to display it, and then walk back to the clinic. So needless to say, this doesn't create a very great experience for these patients, especially if, like me, they're only arriving mere seconds before their appointment. So how can Offstreet help? So instead of having patients walk a permit back and forth, they could simply scan a QR code at the front desk while checking in to easily register for a virtual permit. So as we came here for today, let me go ahead and share my screen and show you an example of what this could look like. Awesome. Okay, so I'm in the end user portal. This is what the patient would see when they're registering for parking. As you see that I pre-programmed this to be a 3-hour parking duration. However, this is completely customizable. And what they're going to do once they scan the QR code with their mobile device is input a plate number, and they're going to hit park. And it's truly that easy, really seamless, effortless. With that, I'll pass it back to Kyle.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Taylor, for showing us that. Now is one of the opportunities for any questions when it comes to the specific demo. So if you have any questions right now, drop them in the Q&A or then the chat there, and we'll make sure that Taylor here can answer those for you. It looks like we have one right now. Taylor, what happens when someone doesn't own a cell phone or isn't tech savvy?
Great question. So, this is a question I do commonly get when I speak to universities about this use case. And the easiest way around it is simply by giving the individual at the front desk, so the administrative staff, access to that unique link associated with the end user portal. So, if I come up and again, Stormy ran away from me this morning, I forgot my cell phone at home, I had to make it to my appointment. I don't have my cell phone, and the administrative staff can easily bring up that portal and input the plate on my behalf.
Totally, totally. Okay, awesome. We don't have any more questions right now, but definitely if they do come up, I will fire them your way or in your next demo. Maybe I'll ask you there or completely right at the end. But thanks so much, Taylor. Now we
Thank you,
will
Kyle.
get into our next demo here, kind of rapid fire, which we love to see. So another thing campuses experience is bringing a lot of summer camps and events through the summer while students are not as present on campus. So although school is out for the summer, parking is usually still in session, right? So along with these summer camps comes a lot of, parking challenges and burdens. The first being parker flexibility. So parents often need to park shortly, walk their kid into the camp, or maybe they want to stay longer just to watch, a sports game or whatever it is that's taking place at the camp. And also, traditional parking solutions can become a burden. Physical permits, coupon codes, or promo codes are cumbersome again for the guests, but also difficult for the TAPS teams to administer. And a lot of campuses using alternatives like this struggle with, no GPS capabilities, a lot of, the non-ability to add custom instructions. So the communication with campers or parents or parkers in general with the camp itself, it just comes like a game of telephone when it comes to parking. So I'm going to call up Spencer here to walk us through what it looks like to manage, a kids camp through Offstreet.
Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for joining us today. Really warms my heart to see such a full webinar here. Yeah, so we've got a kids camp coming up at UCR. This one, like honestly, when I was reading about it, it looks so much fun. It's like all about ziplining and adventure. I would have totally signed up for this had I been raised in the warm regions of California and not the frigid prairies in Canada. But yeah, super cool. It's a 2-day event. Little precursor about UCR. So they use T2 Flex as their permit management system, and they're using LPR for enforcement, mobile LPR. So what we need to do is get these parents, their license plate data into that system so that enforcement runs smoothly for this event while communicating all of the instructions for this event. So they do a form fill where they have an event request for parking. But we also have this page for those schools that have joined us today that maybe don't have that process, where we can find it on the campus events calendar page, and we can build out a parking thing and send it to them that way too. So I've already gone ahead and designed this in the back end, just taking what's available on the website here, and I've created this portal. So this is going to be sent to all of the parents that have registered their kids for this camp. And they're going to simply do something very similar to what Taylor showed you before. They're going to throw in their test plate, test 7953, and they're going to hit next. Now, just to make sure that if this code or this link were to get into the hands of students, we're not going to have a ton of abuse, and we're not billing those free parking sessions back to the recreation center. We've secured it using a code system. So we would have given this along with the link to this page to those parents once they've signed up their kid. I've already got them set in here for November 25th, starting at 8:30 a.m. and running through to 7 o'clock p.m. That's the end of the enforcement day. what's nice here is that we're actually registering them a month in advance. So we can kind of have a little bit of an idea when it comes to total demand and if we need to set up like an overflow lot or something like that. I've also got them set up here going to lot 1, and I'll show you more on that in a jiffy. But now that we've put in our code, all we do is hit park, and there we go. I know we have a couple different folks on the call here. Some are already Offstreet clients, and some are just taking a look at it today. We integrate with T2 Flex. We also have an open API for other permit management systems, and we're fully integrated with Genetec LPR. So this information has been passed off to both your enforcement system and your permit management system, ensuring that all of your devices are talking. Now for the communication to the actual parker themselves, all we have to do is throw in their email here, and they would do this as they check out. And then they're going to send themselves a little itinerary receipt that's going to have their confirmation number, something that your team can reference should they have any issues. But it's also going to send them an email with all of this information a day before the event. You can imagine that I'm going to forget what I did here today, and I'm not going to remember exactly where I'm going, when I'm going there. November 24th. That's ridiculous. Or November 25th. That's ridiculous for me to think that I have to remember that. So I'm going to get this email here. And you'll have to excuse my Wi-Fi. I'm actually currently in Denver, and the Wi-Fi at this conference has been a little bit slow. So we might have to revisit this when I come back up for my other demo. But yeah, we'll pause it there, and I'll showcase that when I come back up. So yeah, back to you, Kyle.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Spencer. I just did my own little research on Camp Highlander, and you're right, it does look like a really fun camp that I would have liked to go to as well. Spencer, we will leave it open here just for a quick question I see in the chat from Anne here, as well as Troy. Starting with Anne, what happens if the camp doesn't pay for parking?
So if this isn't a situation where you're billing back internally and you want the end parker to be paying for that session and you still want them within that time frame, we actually have we can activate a Stripe payment gateway. So once they enter in their plate information, or we wouldn't have a code system because there's really no worry for abuse, and it would go to a credit card information window essentially, and they would just enter that in, pay for that session per a rate that you would set, and then you'd be all good. Does that answer your question there, Anne?
She'll probably give a thumbs up there. Yeah, she says yes. Perfect. Troy is also wondering if you can show us directions from lot 1. I'm assuming the directions thing we can showcase now or in the next demo, whatever you feel.
You know what? I'll actually just share back my screen. Now that I've had a little bit of time, I'm sure that email would have come in. So here we have, you can see this, right, Kyle?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is the email that would have popped up. This is kind of like a know before you go, very similar to like how airlines do, where it's like, here's where you have to go. Here's when you have to go there. Here's your plate that you entered. This is also great because if I see that I've entered this incorrectly, I can get a hold of the parking team in advance of my arrival to campus, preventing an unnecessary citation. So I don't have to, get the ticket, then come back to you, go through the whole appeals process. And then we have this link right in the email as well. And this is going to send to them a day before the event. So when they are thinking, okay, where do I have to go? All they have to do is click get directions. And it's going to take us to a pin that I've dropped directly on the lot that we're going to send them, lot 1. Now, you can imagine how many slots we might have here. If we've seen that this event has more demand than we expected, say the event host said we were expecting about 80 participants, but we've seen 100 registrations, and this lot cannot manage that. Well, maybe we bring in lot 19 and we have that as an overflow. So it allows us to make a little bit of some on-the-fly decisions too. But this is essentially what the navigation and wayfinding support is going to be like through this email here.
Awesome. Okay, one really quick one running out before we get into the next demo here. Chad is wondering what enforcement platform is Offstreet currently integrated with, and you might have touched on this earlier.
You betcha. I'm actually going to quote Danny here on the team. Some of you may know her. She was talking with one of the operators that was at the conference here, and she said that we currently integrate with about 20, but some of those are through an open API that we just configure. So it really, we can work with pretty much any of them, but we're fully integrated with Genetec LPR, and we have AutoVoo certified technicians on our team as well.
Awesome. Okay, that is all we'll do for this question period. Again, obviously there will be more Q&A at the end following. Thank you, Spencer, for giving us a run through on what kids camps look like through Offstreet. Now, diving into our next one, another very important experience on campus and one of the most critical touch points on campus is during campus tours. It's very critical because you're speaking with prospective students and families all coming to, campus to check it out. Sometimes outdated systems can detract from the overall experience and increase, admin burdens. And obviously that guest experience, when guests come to campus, they have to find and walk to pay stations that can just, not provide that top-notch experience, which I think everyone is looking to provide when it comes to campus tours. So now, Taylor, calling you back to the spotlight here, can you show us how campus tour parking can easily be handled by Offstreet?
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. And before I get started, I just wanted to apologize for the QR code. It ran away into the void, and I am a shameless Google Hangout person. But hopefully I can share that with you after my demo here. So the next use case I'd like to walk you through, as Kyle mentioned, is how a prospective student could register for parking using Offstreet. Now, before I get started and show you the example I created, there are literally so many ways to set up a student tour registration link. This is just one really quick example of what the process might look like for your campus. So in this example I'm about to show you, the student can actually register for parking days in advance. I'm going to go ahead here and share my screen. Perfect. At least I can make it this far. So yeah. Thank you so much. Once again, this example, I'm going to go ahead once again and input our test plate. Hit next. And we have our ability here to pick a day in advance. I'm going to say I'm going to be showing up to campus on Wednesday, October 30th. I'm going to come bright and early, 8 a.m. And wow, the admissions office is so generous. I have a whole 5 hours to park on campus. Thank God, because when I go through the geology building, I am going to be stuck there looking at all the shiny rocks for a while. Go ahead and hit park. And just as Kyle, as Spencer showed you as well, you can send yourself a receipt of the session. You can also have the ability to find directions, which is a really huge win when you are a prospective student coming to campus. There's a really good chance you've never been there before, and getting lost and frustrated is the last thing you need to do. But aside from that, yeah, once again, that easy and simple. Back to you, Kyle.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Taylor. I too probably would get lost in that geology building, looking at shiny rocks and shiny things. Can relate. Once again, we're going to open it up to a quick little question period here. If anyone has questions about kind of that process, what it looks like, or what it might look like on your campus, please do drop that in the chat. It looks like we have one already lined up here in our Q&A function. It is, what if they arrive and didn't pre-register for parking when they booked their tour? I'm assuming that is for the student there.
Yep, sounds great. Honestly, same use case with the dental clinic. When a prospective student comes to campus, they're most likely going to be going to the admissions office and meeting with an individual there. That individual could have that unique link to that portal and just simply ask the student, what's your license plate number, input it on their behalf. Doesn't have to get too complicated.
Awesome. Okay. That looks like all we got for questions on this one. We will hop into our next demo here. Our last but not least is everyone's favorite parking challenge, of course, athletics. Athletics events on campus brings large crowds, which means, various groups with distinct parking needs. specifically media professionals. That's what we're going to dive into in this demo here. Media professionals often require hassle-free parking so that they can focus on their jobs and not have to worry about those parking logistics. So parking also must be valid, for the duration of the game, typically before or sometimes after. So Spencer, I'll once again call you back up here to the screen and tell us how athletics parking can be a breeze through Offstreet.
Thank you again. Hello, everybody. I'm back. Just bringing up this window here. Yeah, athletics. It's funny. This is like parking's arch nemesis. That's what I hear most from schools. But it doesn't have to be super difficult. If we set them up with the right tools in the right way, then they can be our best friends. So we've got the rivalry of the century going down, UCR versus UC Davis. I don't know who you put your money on. Personally, I'm a UCR fan, so I'm going to go with them. In any event, we're going to have media professionals capturing the action, photographers, videographers, and then reporters as well. Of course, they want some special parking rights before and after the event. They want to haul in their equipment. They want to do the interviews afterwards with the athletes, and that comes with special requests. So what we've done, again, I'm taking the information from the page here, but they have an events form that they fill out on campus as well. So I've developed this landing page. So what we would do is the athletics team would send this link directly to those media professionals and then have them just register their parking. So we've preset it November 5th. The game starts at 2 p.m. We've given them an extra hour so that they can get their equipment to the actual event center. And it only runs for 2 hours, but we're going to extend them to the end of the day because they're going to be doing all of these sorts of interviews and what have you. So we're just going to give them the rest of the day. So once they put their plate information in there, we're going to go with test 6789. Hit next. We're going to collect a little bit of information. Once again, we're setting up a coupon code system just to protect ourselves from any sort of abuse from the general attendees of this event. But then we're also going to collect the name of the company. Now, this is just an example here. We could collect the name of the actual media professional, the person. We could collect, anything we really want. I just went with company name for this example, and this is John's Reporting. We hit park, and now that license plate data is now in the LPR system. It's in their permit management system, and we're good to go. Once again, I can send myself an itinerary receipt. I won't show that again since we already covered that. But I've also on this one linked a parking map that is going to actually show up as an attachment in their email as well, with a little box around lot 24 saying park here, and then a star on the recreation center. So just giving them another little added wayfinding piece there. Now, once this event has come and gone, we're going to bill back to the athletics team for the parking sessions that they've had their media professionals incur. So what we're going to do, this is the only little bit that we're going to look at the back end. So we're going to jump from this, what an actual parker sees, to where you and your team would be working out of. We're just in the reporting section. And what I've done is I've set a date range for November, since this is November 5th game. I've set it for lot 1. And I'm choosing this department and I'm pulling this information. Now, all I have to do is click download a CSV. I've already done that just in the interest of time, and I've opened it up here in a Google Sheets file. So I can send this back to the recreation center after the event and say, here is an itemized list of all the different parking sessions that you are going, or that you owe us, and here are the rates that we set parking rate for each of those. And then we total it up and say, now here's your billing. Here's the amount that you owe. So now that event has come and gone, those media professionals have been taken care of, and everybody's happy.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Spencer. I don't know if you saw it in the chat. Charlene dropped a message. She said, I'm from UCR and I've never been more seen in my life. So it's a really great comment there. Once again, we will open the floor to any of the questions for, I guess, any of the demos. Now, that was our last one of today's session. So feel free to drop in the chat any questions about any of the demos we went through today, or specifically about the one that Spencer just went through. It looks like we do have one here, or a couple in our Q&A function here. Can you set up multiple lots for an event? And what if the Parker is valid in multiple lots?
Should I tackle this one?
Sure. Taylor, you can also hop on and feel free to answer these as well.
100%. We can set them up to be valid in multiple. And like I mentioned earlier, because we're having them register in advance, sometimes we might need multiple. So we can set them up being active in all of your green zones or in a mix of lots. It's really up to you on where you want to send them. We just have to select those enforcement zones in the back end when we're setting up the event, and they'll be valid in all of those lots.
One more here I see in the Q&A function. Just a reminder, if you're not putting in your questions in the chat, there is that Q&A function down at the bottom, so feel free to drop them in there. One more came in with the coupon code system. Does everyone input the same code, or can we generate unique questions for unique codes for the attendees to use?
Yeah,
Yep.
and I can answer. Oh, sorry, Spencer.
No,
I
you
can
go
answer
ahead.
this one. Yeah, so we do have a couple of functionalities with the coupon code. So you can give everyone the same code. You can also give each Parker a unique code. And actually, a really fun functionality I just worked through for a university I've been speaking with is everyone is receiving a unique code, but that unique code can be used 3 times in a session and then it expires. So there's a lot of different use cases with the codes. Really just, yeah, allowing you and your team to be dynamic and stay on top of enforcement.
Can I add to that one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was working with a campus that actually used faculty and student ID numbers as their codes, and then they just uploaded a list of those, and then set them all to be usable once, so that everybody had single registrations that they could set up. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, it looks like there isn't much more questions dropping in the chat, but I guess, I mean, we're kind of right on time here too. We don't want to keep everyone too long into their days, especially into their Friday. But I guess thank you, Taylor and Spencer, and thank you to all the attendees for being here today. We really appreciate your time. And if anyone would like any more information, please feel free to reach out to Taylor and Spencer directly, as I'm sure they'd be happy to, or more than happy to help you, solve any questions you have or any of your needs there. Huge shout out once again for both of you for crashing the party and running through those quick demos with us. I did see one question drop in the chat. Is the recording going to be available later? Yes, it will be. Our special teams here at Offstreet will reach out with recordings posted soon. So great question. Yeah, thank you once again, Taylor, Spencer, all the attendees for being here today. Really appreciate you spending some time on your Friday with us. Keep your eyes peeled for more information about when our next webinar will be. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day and see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Friday.